Did you ever play Borderlands?
I did. I have played Borderlands and Borderlands 2.
Did you ever kind of wish the movement didn't suck quite so much?
Absolutely. That is one of the biggest downfalls of the game is the movement. I could totally get down with that.
Especially when they came out with the newest one, the pre-sequel, the movement got all floaty with the non-gravity and just, I guess floaty really is the best term there.
Yeah, I did not play the pre-sequel, but I know several people that have had similar complaints as you just mentioned. A lot of people just didn't like that game.
I understand. I think that it was definitely not as good. But I have another game for you. It is a VR title, and it is called Gunheart. And this game, it feels like Borderlands. Hey guys, this is Moriarty.
And this is Brax, and does it feel like Borderlands, but the movement is better, I would hope?
Well, yeah, I mean, the movement is still kind of a VR trope of teleport, so you just click to teleport. Ultimately, when we break down what kind of game this is, it is a mission-based, non-linear mission-based wave horde shooter thing. It's really hard for me to give a perfect explanation for it. Essentially what you're doing is choosing a bounty and then moving through that mission zone until you've completed whatever the objective is, whether it be kill everything or protect this thing or whatever.
Sounds kind of like a Destiny strike, especially with the horde-based stuff happening, and it's non-linear. You just pick it and you can play through it over and over, and there's like a collection of strikes to pick from. The reason you do it in Destiny is for loot.
That's the same reason why you do it here, so maybe Destiny is a perfect example. After every mission, once you complete certain objectives, you get loot boxes, but they're not paid loot boxes. They're just kind of like chest cases things. You throw them on the ground, they come out, they're little pandas. You earn loot by doing various things, and then you can pick up that loot, the little panda thingy, and then you can smash it, and you get something.
Yeah, that is exactly how strikes work. At the end of the strike, when you finally kill the boss, he'll explode, and then he drops, yellow loot's the best, blue loot is uncommon or rare. You know how they rank loot. But yeah, this looks like the exact same concept in VR.
It's really, really neat. It's a lot of fun. It's one of the prettiest games. It is so incredibly pretty. It looks so much better in VR than it does on the screen. It has all these different options, so you can set it from low to high to whatever. So even a potato computer should, well, I mean, a potato computer that can play VR is not really a potato, but you know what I mean? Like a potato VR computer can play this game and still have a lot of fun with it. And the high-end computers will get even more of a boost out of it. It's super, super pretty. It's also just so much fun. I didn't have a whole lot of expectations with regards to this game. It looked cool, but it also kind of looked like a wave-based shooter, which is kind of like my least favorite VR game. I'm not a big fan of just stand in one place and have a bunch of monsters come at you. But with the addition of objectives and upgrades and loot and replayability galore, you can go back to missions over and over and over and over again to try and get better scores, to get more money out of them, to get better loot, to get higher kills, to whatever. With all of that added in, it made the wave-based shooter aspects of it just super fun.
Yeah, I think that's a really good model and a really addictive model to use. And I would be skeptical of it, but you've already said that you don't pay to open your loot boxes, so it's really just a matter of, oh, I want to go back in and get some more cool stuff. That model's worked really well in the past, and it's really drawn players in and got them hooked. So perhaps this is going to be a really good example of a VR game that you can play over and over and over again, which is really neat because that's not very common at this point.
It really isn't. The amount of times that I have said, oh, I want to go back and play that game again, I feel like I can count them, if not on one hand, definitely on two. There's not a whole lot of those experiences. Yes, some of them are very neat or they're very fun, but they always end up feeling kind of like, yeah, but I don't really want to do it again. Like, I've done it now. They're that kind of an experience that once you've done it and you're good. With this, I can absolutely see myself going back in and doing it again and again and again, especially because there's also PvP multiplayer with like a brawl type of thing. There are weekly events that you can get into, so if you do find yourself joining in and saying, I really like it, you'll get higher class loot and things like that by playing the weekly events. And maybe it's, okay, we're going to play this, but it's going to be on hard mode, whatever.
Dude, I'm telling you, it's Destiny. They have weekly Nightfall raids and weekly Nightfall strikes in Destiny that do the exact same thing. This is the same model. I love it.
And all of that, the Destiny model really came from MMOs.
True.
So this is MMOs in VR. And you know what? That's great. This is super fun. It's a lot of fun. It's great. It's incredible. I think this is probably the best design that I've seen in VR yet with regards to shooters. So there's a lot of shooters out there, and they all kind of end up being pretty okay. They're always kind of flawed in some way. But this is really the next generation of VR now. We've had VR for a year. We've had a lot of tech demos come out. We've had a lot of games that are, it's the best way to describe them. Just, Now, we're finally getting to the point where we have titles coming out that are real games that have been designed around what works and what doesn't work, that have the experience of a full year, well, year and a half really, of other games that have succeeded or failed. This is the first one I've seen that came out that took all of that and made it really good. And, I mean, there's even bounties for playing through the same thing and unlocking special weapons by doing this and doing that. There's so much stuff. Each map that I played on, every single mission I played on, had at least 50 different unlocks for that single map.
That's really exciting, actually. I've never seen that much depth to a VR game, or maybe there are some out there. I can't remember any that you've shown me before, though, that do seem to have that type of replayability where I can unlock 50 things on one single map. And the PvP weekly stuff is going to draw people back as well. Do they have PvE co-op?
There is supposed to be co-op in this game, but I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't find the co-op, but it is designed to have co-op in it. So I say I didn't see it, and I want to make it clear that I just didn't see it.
Yeah, that's fair. I was just curious because I hate to keep making the comparison. One of the best parts about Destiny is getting a fire team together of you and your buddies, and if VR can offer that sort of stuff either now or in the future and get VR players in there together, you know, as a team, and you would go through these maps and you would get your loot, and you know, it would just be great because you would have teammates and they could up the difficulty based upon how many people are on your team, and then people could get salty because they killed the boss but you got the good loot. It's that sort of stuff that I think would be great for VR in the future.
Oh man, it's crazy you say that because this has drop-in mid-mission stuff, and when they come in, it automatically and dynamically adjusts the difficulty of the mission. So it's absolutely already what you want. I just couldn't figure out how to do it. And that's really my problem. I found myself going, oh, you know, this has co-op. I should figure out how to do that. And then going, yeah, I'll figure it out after the next mission.
Yeah, that could be a good sign, though, because it means that you were just having too much fun doing what you were doing to really get to that part of the game yet, you know?
There's also, like, just so many weapons, and you can unlock them, you can upgrade them. There's various things that you can put into the weapons to make them more powerful with various mods. There's even a Half-Life 2-esque physics-based weapon that allows you to grab barrels and things and throw them at enemies. It's so much fun. This is an incredibly well-designed co-op shooter, if you can figure out how to do the co-op.
Fair enough.
And even if you can, it's super fun.
It's like nothing I've seen before. I'll say that much, that this is doing more than I've seen.
Destiny.
Well, you know, I mean, it's like nothing I've seen from a VR title before. I'll say that.
Also, you've got all of the expected cross-plays.
And the more people you can get into these games, the better. How much do they want for this? What are they pricing this title at?
It is on the high end of the scale.
I was expecting that.
Yeah, this is a $35 game. Definitely one of the more expensive titles. It's also probably the only one that has earned that price. When you look at a lot of these games, even the most expensive ones, and I have to say that like the most expensive VR titles are probably the Serious Sam titles. They're really well put together and they're clean and whatever, but there's always kind of like the, I guess you would call it je ne sais quoi. There's the thing that makes them exciting and better and whatever.
There's something there that sets them apart from other games. Even if you can't put your finger on it, it's just there.
This has that. It is so much fun, and I wish I knew more people so that we could all go play this game together. There's so many guns, there's so much stuff, Brax, there's so much stuff.
So much stuff to do. I have to get a Vive so I can get in there with you. I want to right now.
The nice thing is they took all of the different stuff that you see in all of the other really good shooters out there, and they just kind of mashed them all together, but they mashed them together in a way that works. So you've got multiple missions, you've got replayability, you've got short game periods, which is really nice because you can get in and you can play a full mission in maybe 10 minutes, which is great. All sorts of different guns and upgrades. You've got multiplayer, you've got co-op, you've got PvP, you've got weekly stuff, you have reasons to come back. The graphics are pretty, but you can set them down to potato if you want to. Like, it's got all the stuff that you expect from a AAA game, but it's a VR title. And the thing is that I feel like the really big moment for VR games is when you look at the VR title and you go, I would play this in 2D and I would consider it to be a fair price. Well, I believe that if you were to have this game in 2D and you were to take out all the VR stuff and you were to say this is a co-op shooter with multiple missions and lots of upgrades and all that kind of stuff, all the stuff I already said, but it didn't have VR, you would look at it and go, $35 seems a little pricey, but it's still worth it. And I feel like that's kind of the moment. You go, okay, it's still worth it at that point. Well, there you go.
That's what you want out of VR in the future. That's what VR is capable of, and when it reaches its full potential, that's exactly what it's going to be. Like you said, they've had time now, a year and a half, that VR has been a strong force, and they've been working on it. This is the sort of game that when I look at it, I feel like, okay, now's the time that I buy a headset. Like, if this is the sort of stuff that is coming, this is time for me to make a move. Because I've been skeptical in the past, like, a lot of these games don't look so good. But then when I see this, I think, you know, they're getting close to getting to that level where, you know, lots of games will be this good. And with, you know, holiday specials and sales and things coming on and coming around, I think it's going to be a really good idea for people to know about these titles, because then the entire VR community is going to grow, because this is the sort of stuff that is exciting.
If you like it, like it. If you don't like it, don't like it. But if you did like it, go ahead and watch another one up there in the corner. And as always,
We'll see you guys on the next one.